We're back here in the final segment of our program talking about the Youth Empowerment Program, and the program is quite effective, we understand, because you have some 1,200 people, 1,200 young people who are enrolled in the program, and you are looking for more, eh?
Yes, we are.
Very good. And young people, young boys and girls are into drugs. And I want to speak a little bit about that because there is an appetite in our country, especially among young people, for
And alcohol.
drugs and alcohol. How does the Youth Empowerment Program guard them against these things?
Well, you know, one of the things that we do, Mr. Jones, that's a part of our curriculum too. We speak to them in regards to drug and alcohol abuse and its consequences. We also have time when we have police officers come in and let them know the law as it pertains to youth and what's not. And so we have a no tolerance towards drug and alcohol. If for some reason we find that you are involved in those things, we speak to you first. We try to get you to work with us. If we find that it's becoming a problem, then we speak to your guidance counselor and let them take it from there. Our thing is not to have you arrested, but we're not going to have you tarnish this program either, because we don't tolerate drug nor alcohol abuse. Not with our students, not with our leaders. And so we are really strict on it. We teach it, we eat it, we sleep it. And so some of the topics that we are given, we have to come back to more times in the year, because it's such a topic that needs expanding. I'll use dating. Our young people, for some reason, just feel like when they get a certain age, they know, but dating doesn't go with age, it goes with maturity. And I tell them that every day. You could be 14. I may let you go on a date if you're mature enough to handle yourself on that date. And so certain topics like drug and alcohol and dating, sometimes we have that 3 times in the year.
Well, let's hear Taras on it. Let's say you speak to drugs and alcohol. Why young men and young girls are into drugs and alcohol? I have some young fellas who work with me in my company who I believe they can't bring no drugs and alcohol here, but I believe they're into drugs and alcohol too. See my cameramen are laughing. Huh? Why do you think they have this appetite for drugs and alcohol?
Like you said in the segment, peer pressure, honestly.
Peer pressure?
That's all. Like amongst the youth.
You think I should talk to them about peer pressure?
Yes.
Some of them need to come back to the Youth Empowerment Program. Eh?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay.
But mostly the homes they're growing up in, they reflect mostly on their parents. Like in broken homes, they reflect on their parents coming home drunk at night or sometimes during the day, and they really think that, like, they look up to their parents, and they like, if I look up to my godfather and my father and many other my male role models, and they don't really indulge in drinking and so forth like that, and that's how I feel like I can look up to them. I could see where they're going with their life without drinking. I can really reflect on that because I can say that that's how they're living their life, and this is the point where they are financially and mentally, and I really want to be in that state. So how I look at it, the abuse of drugs and alcohol, like push me back far, and especially because I'm an athlete. That can really prevent me from getting scholarships and so forth like that, slow me down athletically, physically, and so forth like that. But mostly, they really reflect on their parents, how they come home drunk at day, and in the days, in the nights. So I really think that if the parents would show a better
example?
Yes, a better example towards their kids, that could really go far away.
But sometimes, you know, Taras, there are negative outside influences
Yes, it is.
that come to bear on these young people. And Mr. Palmer, you probably can speak to that too. You know, they look at videos from outside the country, the American lifestyle, and the rap stars and the people out of some people out of the West Indies who are hooked on drugs, and I'm going to talk to you about music in a short while.
Well, our culture has changed, you know, Wendell. I've been
Cultural influences.
It's culture. It has changed. I've been. I have to say, in Halloween, I will have been a resident here for 50 years, and I grew up here when there was a drive-in on Prince Charles. You remember that? And the times were, and when we lived in Seabreeze, there were like 3 houses, and we played in the middle of, I think it's Beatrice Avenue, it's called, and there was really no. It was different times, you know. And I remember when my dog would run over. The guy, the gentleman came back with his truck with 4 puppies in the back, and he said, "Go and pick one. You know, I'm sorry I ran your dog over." It was just different times, and we didn't have, you know, MTV. We didn't have all the cable TV, so we have changed. You know, we have the dare say more American values, and it's you know, it's tough because they're constantly. You know, somebody said definition of school is your children being brought up by other children. Yeah. Right? It sounds ridiculous, but it's true because they come with their cultural influences, and so you have to be a barrier almost between your children and what's going on in school. It must be really tough, and it's easy to cave in. You know, I was a kid too once. You know, I know how easy it is, and you want to be popular. But I remember my son. We lived on a houseboat for many years, and my son had a friend who kind of took him under his wing. I think Daniel was about 12, and he started smoking weed on the boat. And he had a really good job on one of these tourist boats, and then he got caught smoking weed, and he got fired off the boat. And he came back, and he was caught somewhere else on the premise. He was banished from the marina, so he couldn't. You know, the thing that was keeping him alive, his income, was vanished. And then we heard he ended up, you know, at Her Majesty's pleasure. And he was a really nice guy. And my son really woke up when he saw that, how that transitioned. So it's about, I think, you know, what they do at the districts is to show consequences. And you know, this is the best computer you have in your brain. Use it.
That's right.
You know, use it whenever you get put in difficult circumstances.
So countering these negative influences, you have to bring various speakers in, I believe, from time to time?
We bring various speakers in because sometimes the kids need to hear it from somebody else. They get tired of hearing it from Ms. Reckley. But we bring in various speakers. But for me, as a senior district manager, I'm never tired of telling them the consequences that will happen if you go that way. I will tell them it until they get it in their head that it's not that way, it's this way. And as long as they stay on the straight and narrow, it's no reason I can't celebrate them. I don't want to come to any of their funeral, and I always tell them that. And so if they get involved in gang activities, the drug, the alcohol, the drug is just going to mess up their brains and their mind and tell them to do any old stupidness. Okay, and so my thing is we get all of the people who we know are equipped to speak to them. Like I use the police for sure. We get them, we get the lawyers, we get the doctors to come and tell them about the HIV and the other sickness. We tell them everything that they need to know. Sometimes we need to scare them.
Yeah. You have competition from the gangs, don't you? Because the gangs...
I haven't found in my district, maybe the districts that are in the inner cities, like the ones that meet at St. Barnabas and Air Fatherly that are really in the gang areas may have a lot of problem with that. For me, over the hill, I don't have that problem because when you come up against me, you might as well come up against me ready to hit me or go. I am not backing down. So that's how I feel about these children. I've never had to encounter anyone with my young men or young ladies, but the kids that come into my contact know I'm ready to take it on.
But Ataris, you meet people, young men or young boys who are in gangs, don't you? You need to target them as well, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you entice them to get out of these gangs and to join the youth empowerment program?
To really put themselves in the program, to really get involved and doing things and participating in mostly all the activities, keep themselves busy in order to the streets more into the program, because the program really opens doors and could really benefit the youth.
And how do you balance the youth empowerment activities
Yes, sir.
with all of the other things that you have to get involved in, because you have homework from school
Yes,
and
sir.
school activities. Do you find it to be
Difficult?
yes?
No, so I use my cell phone as a tool, and I really use it to the best advantage I could. So I just really set a timetable for this. At a certain point of time, I do this, and a certain point of time, I do that. So I really organize it and balance it out.
So the Youth Empowerment Program, YEP, brings a high level of discipline to your life, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Mr. Palmer, that's good news coming from a young man like Towers.
It gives me great hope.
Yes.
It really does, because we have to be a force against all the things that we hear knocking people down, and it just gives me, it's just wonderful, and seeing people transform. When you see somebody who is shy and then you see them break out, I think that's just a wonderful thing, because life is about selling, about selling yourself. You got to sell yourself to your future spouse. You got to sell yourself to your employer. You got to sell yourself in so many ways. So getting those skills is just so critical. And he's a great example of the program.
And Ms. Reckley, I'm sure you are proud of
I am
a
very
whole
proud.
lot of young men
I am.
and women in your program.
I am. I'm very proud. Our last two students, well, the year 2014, 2016 and 2018, the top student were male from Southwest One. And so I'm very proud of that. And so it makes me feel good. I broadened my shoulders and I said I had a part in his upbringing and him getting to where he's at today. And so one of my first student that was student of the year, Sabrio Stubbs, is now at the College of the Bahamas. And so this is what we do.
Yeah.
We push them out there to be the best that they can be. So when he gets out there in his practice that he's working towards, like I tell him, I would be proud to say, hey, I helped to make and shape him to where he's at.
Very good. And congratulations to you again, Ataris
Thank
Colebrook,
you.
on all of these awards that you brought here today. Everything on the table except the globe. It comes from the efforts of Ataris Colebrook in the Youth Empowerment Program. Thank you so very much, Mr. Palmer, for being here, and Mrs. Rackley.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And all the best.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for watching and listening to our program today. Good evening, everybody.